All right, question from this week from Sunday morning. We were talking about the sovereignty of Christ over all creation and that every atom, every electron is completely under his sovereign control. The question came from individuals afterwards: if Christ not only created the universe but currently sustains it and every aspect of it, then how do we explain something like evil in the world? How does Adolf Hitler emerge if the very atoms that compose the molecules that compose the cells of his body are all under the sovereign control of Christ? Then how, if Christ is sovereign over Adolf Hitler's body, his chemical makeup, does Christ then allow evil to occur? And this is one of the questions known as theodicy among theological circles, which is, how does a sovereign God who is good allow evil to occur and still maintain his goodness? And the answer to this is that there is a way that first of all, there's the two aspects of God: the simplicity of God, that God simply is. He is the creator of the universe. He is essential being. But you also have the complexity of God, that God is both holy and righteous and just, and all these varied attributes, that in those attributes he's holy, righteous, just, he's omniscient, he's omnipotent, he's also gracious and loving and kind. And then how those attributes all are on display throughout creation. So though evil is not done by God, evil is permitted by God. And you say, well, why would God permit evil? The only justification for it would be if in the act of allowing evil, in the complexity of God who can maintain both his holiness while permitting evil in the universe he completely controls, the only way that would be the case is if God is most glorified in the universe that even allows or permits sin to occur. And how would God be most glorified in that? The answer is, the only way we would see God as gracious or know love the way God has shown it in Christ, or to experience the nature of mercy, to also understand what holiness and righteousness is even about, is if we have some way of knowing that. So God doesn't create evil, but he does allow the space for which evil can occur. And though God is sovereign over the cells and atoms and molecules in the universe and tells them where to go and how to perform, he can, in his complexity, both do that and allow with freedom, free will beings like me and you and Adolf Hitler and Mother Teresa, the same kind of chemical makeup, to respond very differently to him and to one another. And so in the complexity of God, you have his absolute sovereignty over cells and atoms and those kinds of things, while simultaneously allowing human freedom to work within that sovereign control of God, so that God in his sovereignty can then display both his holiness in judging such sin as Adolf Hitler in his assault on Jewish people and all people for that matter. And you also see God's grace in that he can take someone like Paul the Apostle, a killer of Christians, and forgive him. And so in that we see the contours of the complexity of God and all of these varied attributes on display in the creation, where he creates a universe that, even though he's completely sovereign over it, allows certain things to transpire so that we can understand and learn and grow and experience all of these various attributes of God. Now here's my simple example of this. A parent of a 2-year-old will sometimes let a 2-year-old make a mess or make a mistake in a way that a 2-year-old can then learn a few things. One is, that was a mistake, or that was a mess, or that hurts when I fall off of this, or don't do that the right way. And then also learns that a parent is wise and helpful and comforting and these kinds of things. And so a parent will allow a child certain freedoms, knowing full well that kid may fall down and scrape their knee right then. And though I would never want them to scrape their knee, if we put them in bubble wrap, they're never going to learn either about themselves, their world, their parents, the people around them. And God, take that to 1,000,000 billion times greater. He displays to us, explains to us, allows us to enter into a front row seat of his sovereign attributes, these panoply of the attributes of God, whereby in the universe he's created that is absolutely perfect for maximizing his glory, it includes a universe where evil can occur, and he still sovereignly rules over it. So because of the complexity of God, he can be both sovereign over me and you, and still allow us to make choices within that sovereignty where the atoms in my body perform the way he's designed them to perform, but I could use them in ways that violate his holiness or honor him. And so that's how I think in the complexity of God, we have the ability to him be sovereign of the universe, but bad things still occur. Because in the end, he's going to take the bad things he freely allows us to do and then redeem them and maximize his glory in the display of the panoply of his attributes in them. And so thus Adam and Eve's sin, though they volitionally chose that sin, God permits it because knowing full well that he's going to take that sin and then redeem it, maximize his glory out of it. And that's the complexity of God, who can both be sovereign over free will beings who do both good and evil, and then take it all and redeem it to maximize his glory. That's a complex answer to a very valid question and a hard question, but I think that's really the best way to approach it, is God is doing what he's done and allows to maximize the display of all of his attributes. Good question. We'll see you guys this week.